Roll.
Let's get started.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to incredible Baltimore on Sunday, August 17th, 2025. And this is your Late Night Baltimore show. The temperatures are going to drop. Today was an awful day. It was a terribly hot day. It is now still warm, but the temperatures are going to drop, it says, according to the weather report. Also, let me tell you a little story. This is going to be a very late movie review. There was this movie called Superman 2025. The title of the movie was Superman. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the movie. For a DC movie, it wasn't so terrible. Their movies usually suck. It wasn't that bad. They used a lot of cool music from the from the 70s Superman, which was the best Superman. It's hard to do Superman, but the big change they made was that their parents from Krypton were telling were sent Superman there because so he could take over and rule. And rule is like where he could do what he wanted. Nobody could stop him. So that was the twist. So if you didn't see it, I ruined it. But the guy who played Superman was pretty good and all. So I give it a, come on, for them, for DC, I give it a thumbs up for DC. It was DC trying to be Marvel. It was using all kinds of Marvel jokes and these little trinkets flying around all over the place. Like the Iron Man brought to the Marvel Universe, all these little drone stuff flying around and shooting off things and walking in through portals. And yeah, it was if you took the entire Marvel Comics universe cinema and crunched it together and tried to make it Superman. But so it was pretty good. Grading in on the curve, as they say. So I would say thumbs up for that film. All right, now let's move on. We need viewers and we need watch hours. So you should watch and you should like. That's what they say too, like. And don't be surprised. Wait, we're getting some, somebody's trying to donate. What's this? Oh, Well, that's good. $500 in Bitcoin from Hollywood. Okay. Super chats by fill in the blank. That's pretty nice. Okay, and some other things coming in for the channel. That's really great. And another donation. Okay. All right, now to the news. The Ravens are having a watch party on September 7th. I think you should really go to the game to that because that might be kind of cool. It's going to be at the stadium, and it's going to be everybody sitting around watching the Bills game on the videos. It's going to be kind of cool. Wait, what's this? Yeah. Watch party. Season opener is in Buffalo, but you're going to have the watch party here. That's on September 7th, down at the stadium. $10 with free parking. The Orioles are the favorite. The Ravens are the favorite to win the AFC North, and they really got to win the Super Bowl this year, whether we want to or not. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrew, Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. We got a lot of people. But if you didn't think the game was enough, the Yin Yang Twins, a hip-hop duo from Atlanta, known for their party mix of songs that include Salt Shaker, Get Low, Whistle While You Twerk, are just going to be there at the watch party. So we're going to try to do a live stream from the watch party. You can't beat free content that we also don't have to do any work for. Just have to sit there and live stream. Okay. Now, let's talk about some things in the news. Putin and Trump had a somewhat of a supposed to be a summit this weekend, and very strange by all accounts. It was strange because Donald Trump, I did not think that Putin was allowed to be Putin himself in this country. He landed in someplace in Alaska, and he rolled out the red carpet for old Putin. And it's weird to have peace talks without Zelensky. Zelensky's coming tomorrow, they say. All right then. Let's see. Zelensky's coming to D.C. tomorrow with a bunch of European leaders. I just used this joke with somebody I was talking to on the phone, my old buddy. I said that when he goes in the White House, it's going to be like Zelensky's showing up to a fancy restaurant. They're going to have a tie and a jacket for him. It's just a joke. It's an utter disgrace that we somehow, the United States, has to bend for old bow to Putin. It's really sick. We're supposed to be the power in the West, and we're supposed to be defending the West from these kind of transgressions. And Russia is supposed to be, and rightfully they are, our enemy because they're trying to invade into the West, clearly. But that's where we are now. Trump loves or is afraid of, or both, Putin and Russia. And Maga does whatever Mr. Maga say they do. But here's something I saw in the news. Donald Trump conveys Putin's territorial demand in the Ukraine talks. So Donald Trump is conveying to the rest of the world what Putin wants. Apparently what he'll get, and then he'll get. Let's see. Let's watch this. Going slow. Here we go. Share this. And we're on StreamYard, and there it is. Now let's watch it.
We're born lucky should help people who fall through the cracks. That's my life's work, and it's why I'm running for mayor.
This is what Ivy League universities you can get into with a 3.6 GPA.
90% of students with a 4.0.
A day after the Alaska summit, outlines have emerged of peace proposals discussed by Russia's Vladimir Putin and his US counterpart, Donald Trump. Now, according to reports which cited official sources, Russia proposed relinquishing tiny pockets of occupied Ukraine, and in return, Kiev would cede swathes of its eastern land, which Moscow has been unable to capture. Well, Trump had confirmed in an interview with Fox News that he and Putin discussed land transfers along with security guarantees for Ukraine and had largely agreed. Sources said that under the proposed Russian deal, Kiev would fully withdraw from the eastern Donetsk and Luhansk regions in return for the Russians' pledge to freeze the front lines in the southern regions of Kherson and Zaporizhia. Well, post-meeting with Putin, Trump briefed Zelensky and European leaders on the summit discussions. Trump said that Ukraine should make a deal with Russia because Russia is very big and they're not.
Look, Russia's a very big power. And they're not. They're great soldiers, and they have great, but they also had the best equipment. They had our equipment. And I gave them javelins, if you remember, in my first term. In fact, there was a statement, I gave javelins. You remember this?
Putin's offer ruled out a ceasefire until a comprehensive deal is reached, blocking a key demand of Zelensky, whose country is hit daily by Russian drones and ballistic missiles. Now, Zelensky said that Russia's refusal to accept a ceasefire was complicating the efforts to end the war. He expressed skepticism about the future, pondering over the bigger question: how to get Russia to have the will to implement far greater peaceful coexistence with its neighbors for decades. Now, Zelensky is due to travel to Washington on Monday to discuss with Trump a possible settlement of the full-scale war. Reports say that European leaders are invited to come along with Zelensky. The French presidency, meanwhile, said that the leaders of Britain, France, and Germany will host a video call on Sunday involving Kiev's allies in a coalition of the willing to discuss steps towards peace in Ukraine.
Okay, what's all that mean? It means that Trump is selling out Ukraine. He's going to tell them that they have to take a deal with Russia because Russia is more powerful, and Ukraine will have to move back, and Russia will promise not to invade anymore. And so this will be Putin's best trick. He'll try to say, we won't invade, so that he can wait a couple of years to invade again, because so they can retool. Russia wants time to retool with their armies and their technology, and so they'll take a couple years off and then invade again. That's their plan, and Trump is siding with them, and hopefully Europe and Zelensky can communicate that you got to do a lot more. Like, these have to be some permanent, agree to all that, but Ukraine needs to be allowed to come fully into NATO, and NATO has to be taken seriously. And hopefully, when Mr. Maga himself is finally gone, the United States will go back to trying to have a serious investment in NATO, and Ukraine can join NATO. That's the greatest outcome most Americans, I'm sure, do want or should want. So that's on that. Now, let's also go to something else. Some ICE raids are ramping up. Huh? Nope, I can't get into that. Well, here the MSNBC had some things to say about what they think will happen at the talks tomorrow here in Washington. Let's go look at that.
I hope they're there to figure out a peace agreement, but they're basically there to say, you're not going to push Ukraine around. I think this is a fascinating development. I don't think it's one that the White House necessarily would have planned, but what do you make of it?
Well, I'm really glad that all these people are there, because we absolutely can't have a repeat of that unbelievably scandalous, terrible meeting that Donald Trump had with Vladimir Zelensky in the Oval Office, where he and J.D. Vance verbally and practically physically attacked Zelensky. We just can't have that. So the fact that they're showing up is very helpful. I think there's one thing that's very important that everybody needs to understand is that it kind of looks to me, and I think it looks to many others, like at the meeting in Alaska, none of us were present in their meeting, but it looks like Donald Trump has accepted some version of Putin's, quote, peace plan. And the purpose of this meeting was to then present it to Zelensky. And of course, the Vladimir Putin's proposal is a totally unacceptable proposal for Ukraine, for Europe, for just about anybody else. And Zelensky will have to be in a position to reject it. And so the fact that he's not going to then be in a position to reject it by himself, but be in a position to reject it with the collective voices of NATO, the European Union, the UK, et cetera, at least puts him on firmer grounds to reject it, because that has to be where this thing.
Oh, this guy makes a lot more sense, or a lot more optimistic and a lot more rational analysis of what is happening, that Trump got steamrolled in that, whatever you call it, whatever that was the other day in Alaska, and hopefully tomorrow Zelensky communicate that they're not going to get steamrolled, and they have all the leaders of Europe to concur with Zelensky. He can't get steamrolled and let Putin, the evil dictator, just do what he wants, even though Trump is clearly afraid or in love with, or both, with Putin. I think it's mostly afraid. Okay, let's hear some more of this guy.
Is going.
This showerhead does much more than normal showerheads. If you haven't bought it yet, please take 2 minutes.
I will say, though, Vladimir, at some point, there's a lot of firepower going to the White House tomorrow. Is there a world, because Steve Witkoff, who is apparently the president's negotiator for everything, he's gone to Russia 5 times to meet with Putin. Putin actually called him out by name to say he's welcome to keep coming, because meetings with a guy like Steve Witkoff are good for Putin. Nothing gets accomplished. As I said yesterday, it's a lot of shuttle and not very much diplomacy. But is there a world in which Witkoff says we are going to agree to give Ukraine Article 5-like protections without NATO membership? Sounds like it means in exchange for some territory. Is there a world in which that's viable and useful to Ukraine?
Well, first of all, we have to be really careful about putting any weight on deals that involve land swaps for anything else when people are dealing with dictators, aggressors, and bullies, like as Vladimir Putin is. Because, and again, I keep going back to the lessons of history. The great 19th century Russian historian Vasily Khrushchevsky once observed that history does not teach anyone anything, but it punishes those who fail to learn its lessons. Well, isn't the lesson of the 1938 Munich Agreement enough for today's world leaders? Adolf Hitler said that Sudetenland was his last territorial claim in Europe. And then after that, again, after that piece of paper that Neville Chamberlain waved saying this is peace in our time, this was it. Europe was at peace. Everything was fine. Everything was secure. It was, I believe, just 11 months between the signing of the Munich Agreement and the start of World War II. So, again, we are in the 21st century, not in the 17th, and we should not be talking about handing one country's territory to another. This is something that is in complete violation of international law as it stands. With an added irony is that this month, August, is the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Helsinki Final Act, when countries across Europe and North America, including the United States of America and the then Soviet Union, agreed that there should be no forceful change of borders on European territory by force. And yet that is essentially exactly what is being talked about. But also, if you want to specifically talk about security guarantees, let's not forget that there was already a document that provided.
They had one, yeah, the Munich, the Budapest Agreement.
To Ukraine. But yes, on the 5th of December, 1994, in Budapest, Hungary, several countries, including the United States of America and the United Kingdom, gave security assurances to Ukraine when it gave up its nuclear weapons in return for these international supposed guarantees. Well, what did these countries do when Vladimir Putin annexed Crimea in 2014, which was the first case when one European country forcibly seized territory from another since the end of the Second World War? Essentially, they did nothing. And I think the attitude of the Kremlin and the attitude of Vladimir Putin going into this whole process, they were really on display at that meeting in Anchorage when, well, first of all, just on the outward trappings. I mean, I'm sure you remember the pictures of Sergei Lavrov, Putin's foreign minister, arriving in Anchorage with a T-shirt saying USSR in it. Margarita Simonyan, who's head of the Kremlin propaganda network RT Russia Today, boasted, tweeted in her social media that Russian state propagandists, the so-called journalists from Russian state media, while they were on a plane on the way to Alaska, they were served chicken Kiev for dinner. I mean, can you think of anything more brazen, anything more emboldened from these people? And also, it's that Putin did not consider it necessary to make any gestures of goodwill going into the meeting. He got it for nothing. There was no ceasefire, not even for a few days, not even a partial one. There was no release of any Ukrainian civilian captives, for example, or any Russian political prisoners who are sitting in jail because they opposed this war. There were 3 Nobel Peace Prize laureates who called on Putin in advance of this meeting as a gesture of goodwill to release some political prisoners, some Ukrainian civilian captives. Nothing of the sort has happened. I've seen in some media, including American media, there were comparisons of the Anchorage meeting between Trump and Putin to the Reykjavik meeting in 1986 between Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev. Well, frankly, nothing could be further from the truth because, yes, Reagan still had to deal with the Soviets, but he did it with a position of strength and principle. And nothing could be more different from the current administration. You remember the condition that Ronald Reagan gave for even coming to Reykjavik to meet Gorbachev. He said the Soviets had to release Yuri Orlov, who was a leading dissident at the time, the founding chairman of the Moscow-Helsinki group, who spent years and years in the Gulag and was at the time in exile in eastern Siberia. Reagan said, I'm not even coming to Reykjavik unless Gorbachev releases Orlov. And guess what? He did release him. And Reagan met with Orlov first, and only then came to meet with a Soviet leader. Now, this is what the policy based on strength and principle is, and this has nothing to do with what we're seeing today.
Bill, when you were talking to American legislators about the Magnitsky Act, you not only met with, but had universal support almost from Democrats and Republicans. In fact, Republican support for this was very strong. The idea of Republicans' support for standing up in favor of human rights and against an adversarial Russia was very strong. Where has this gone? What has happened here that all of these things that Vladimir just describes happened in Anchorage on Friday, and not a peep from anyone about how we welcome this guy with a literal red carpet?
Yeah, well, you make a really good point. And in fact, I would argue that when I was pushing for the Magnitsky Act, the Republicans were more robust than the Democrats in being tough on Russia. And by the way, guess who one of my biggest allies was in the campaign for the Magnitsky Act? None other than, at the time, Senator Marco Rubio. He was the guy that we would go to when Putin would do bad stuff to get a backbone from the Senate. He was the guy who was the most hawkish when it came to all this Russian nastiness. And so it's interesting because I've been reading all the news very carefully, and a poll came out yesterday about the public opinion of Vladimir Putin, and about 85% of Republicans think he's a bad guy. I think it goes up to 92% for Democrats. And so it's not as if in America the public opinion is on Putin's side.
Right.
And in fact, a majority of Americans even support, both on certainly on the Republican side and definitely on the Democrat side, more aid for Ukraine. And so what we're seeing right now is a foreign policy towards Russia that's being completely cooked up by Donald Trump himself.
That's very, very well said. Exactly who is on Putin's side? Trump. And so that's what happens. Whatever Trump says goes with 51% of the decision making, no matter what anybody else thinks. All right, just for fun, let's go check on the Elbow Room, our favorite late night place in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They always got their live stream going, and I always like to check in on what they're doing. And it looks like they're having a good old time there at the old Elbow Room. Let's see. You got this. Wow, it's bright. It's still very bright out there. What time is it there? Wow, you can hear it. You can hear it live. If you pay $2.99. It's almost 8 o'clock down there and here. Not a big crowd. Sunday night, but they're all drinking cold drinks. Walking around. This is live, right? Yeah, this is live. I mean, look, this lady's looking at her watch. As far as I think, the street is here and the beach is over here. Yeah, it says 7:54 at night. It's live. There's no band out though. People are coming in. This guy's going to get thrown out. This guy's going to get cut off. See that guy dancing in the middle? This is somebody filming him. The staff is going to start looking at him. Come on, man. What is going on? It's a ruckus, wild time at the Elbow Room. Look at everybody walking around, making jackasses out of themselves. Well, you make a jackass out of yourself nowadays, you do it in front of the whole world. Staff is starting to get a little worried. People are coming in. Now people are starting to gather out. Dancing, laughing. All right, enough of that. Now, let's go see what is happening in Ocean City. Let's go live. Ocean City. Our very own. Hey, down the ocean. Okay. let us see what's life like, what is going on in Ocean City tonight. And here we are at Thrasher's. People just ordering Thrasher's, getting fries and all. Look at that bucket of fries. Look at all those people. All right, let's try. They got another cam on this channel. They got all the cams on this channel. Ocean City Live. Let's see. And let's get a view down here. Wait, what's this? Yeah, here we go. There they are, walking around happy. I think this is where the fries is. All those people on a Sunday night. And there's the Asianat here, horns. Man. Oh, the humanity. Well, at least people are happy. Doing something fun. God bless them. See some more stuff from down there. Let's see another view. Here's another view, same place. There's that little prize here, the t-shirt factory, the camera on its side, the ocean. And my Lord. Okay, we move on from that. Let's see. There you can see the sun is going down. Let's see. Where do you want to see? What's going on in the... This is from the Kite Loft. Oh, everybody's having fun. All right, let's see what else people are doing. Anything else to see? Let's see. Oh, people are eating and drinking. Yep, people are eating and drinking here at the Mackey's Bayside Bar. Ooh, the Bayside, dirty. Look at all these folks. Nobody's here at this table. 8 o'clock at night almost. People are out there having fun. Let's see. Can't get much out of this one. Let's see. Anyone else? There's the bay. And this is the Coastal Salt Restaurant. This guy's getting up to leave. He's mad. Oh, he's using the facility. Stumbling around. Ooh, paid the check. All this food. All right, keep watching, everybody. Here it is being invaded by animals. What? What's wrong? Why you gotta get mad? Hey. Are you mad? Sunday night in Ocean City. Wonderful. All right. That's all live. And we are going to call it a night here at the old Late Night Baltimore broadcast. Remember, support Baltimore, support late nights, support this, which is the greatest podcast in the history of podcasts. There's nothing even comes close, really. Many people have said. So do yourself a favor and watch this incredible show. We're coming close to our big football special extravaganza. However, we must also say at the same time that the studio has been struck by a resurgence in the COVID problem. The COVID returned, but we will not be stopped. So, as we say, some more donations coming in. And we're always glad to get that. And we're always so thankful for the support. And we're saying good night. Leave a comment. Like, subscribe, watch. It's coming this week will be the big football NFL preview. And it's mostly going to focus on the Ravens. And it will be the greatest football show ever. All right, everyone. It is now 29 degrees Celsius. I wonder why I can't get that in Fahrenheit. Celsius. Who wants to hear Celsius? Hell no from Celsius. I don't like Celsius. Okay, everybody. And as we say good night this Sunday night, summer night, hot and muggy, now raining here in Baltimore, we say, as we end every show, F Maga, and so I say F Maga, and good night.